Hi, Don Forster with another episode of Catechist Corner. Welcome, students. Today we're going to talk about the Easter season, and we're going to talk about four principal parts to the Easter season. And so we start with the octave of Easter, and octave, of course, means 8 days. So just like the octave of Christmas, we have the octave of Easter. And so for Easter Sunday and the 7 days following, we celebrate each of those days as an Easter day. So during the week of Easter, the first week of Easter, there are no saints' feast days celebrated because Easter takes preference. Christ's resurrection takes preference over any other feast during that time period. The octave of Easter culminates on Divine Mercy Sunday, which we just celebrated yesterday, and we had the beautiful reading from John chapter 20 verses 19 through 31, which tells us the great story about how Thomas the apostle was not with the original other 10 apostles when Jesus appeared to them on Easter Sunday, and therefore the next Sunday, which we now call Divine Mercy Sunday, Thomas is present, and Jesus says to Thomas, "Touch the wounds of my feet, of my hands, and of my side." And that reminds me of something Pope Francis said in his Easter message to the world this year on Easter. And Pope Francis, quoting from him, said, "The risen Lord is also the crucified one, not someone else. In his glorious body, he bears indelible wounds, wounds that have become windows of hope. Let us turn our gaze to him, that he may heal the wounds of an afflicted humanity." Beautiful words from Pope Francis's Urbi et Orbi message for Easter 2020 this year. So Divine Mercy Sunday, we also reflect on the divine mercy of Jesus in the revelation that was given in the early 1920s to Saint Faustina. And Saint Faustina was a nun who lived in the country of Poland, and she received this beautiful revelation of the divine mercy of Jesus. "40 days after Easter, we celebrate the Feast of the Ascension. And typically, the Feast of the Ascension traditionally was celebrated on a Thursday, because if you count 40 days from Easter Sunday, it always falls on a Thursday. However, many dioceses have now moved the Feast of the Ascension to the following Sunday. But there are still a few dioceses in our country and as well around the world that still celebrate the Ascension on the 40th day, a Thursday after Easter. And finally, the Easter season culminates on the 50th day with Pentecost Sunday. Now, we of course, during the Easter season, we bring back a word that we have not used at all during the Lenten season. So from Ash Wednesday till the vigil of Easter Mass on Holy Saturday night, we bring back then Alleluia. And some quotes from the Bible, because it is as if we buried Alleluia at the beginning of Lent, and now Alleluia has resurrected with the risen Christ on Easter. And so some quotes from the Bible concerning the resurrection of the dead. In Matthew chapter 22, verses 31 through 32, Jesus says, "And as for the resurrection of the dead, Have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, St. Paul writes, Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin, which clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. And we also have this story in Matthew's Gospel recorded as well. Chapter 27, verses 50 through 53. And this is a reflection of what happened on Good Friday afternoon when Jesus dies on the cross. And Jesus cried again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And the earth shook, and the rocks were split. The tombs were also opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. And so just like we have resurrected Alleluia for Easter, and we'll continue to use it once again until the following Lent, we are reminded that there will be a resurrection of the just at the end of time. I want to conclude this episode with some advice from Pope Francis in his Easter message once again, Urbi et Orbi 2020. And we hear a lot right now with the pandemic of flattening the curve, practicing social distancing, and practicing good hygiene, and practicing other safety methods if you're out in public to keep yourself healthy, keep others healthy, keep your families healthy, keep your neighbors healthy. And Pope Francis, in his Urbi et Orbi Easter message, reminded us of 4 things that we want to also flatten the curve on. And so I conclude this video with those 4 things. One of the things Pope Francis said we want to flatten the curve on as we go through this Easter season and beyond is to not be indifferent to the situations of the world. So flatten the curve on indifference. Another thing that Pope Francis said that we should flatten the curve on is that of self-centeredness. A third thing that Pope Francis said we need to flatten the curve on during this Easter season and beyond is that of division. And the fourth and final thing Pope Francis reminded us that we should flatten the curve on is that of forgetfulness. So as we continue throughout this Easter season, 2020, let us try to put to practice the wise words of Pope Francis of flattening the curve on indifference in our own lives, self-centeredness in our own lives, division within our own lives, and forgetfulness within our own lives. And let us recall, we just celebrated, as I said, the Divine Mercy revelation to St. Faustina yesterday on the second Sunday of Easter, Divine Mercy Sunday. And now would be a good time to put into practice those words of Pope Francis of removing these obstacles within our spiritual life and our spiritual battle with Satan, with the devil, the forces of evil, and continue to march with great joy, with that great Alleluia, as we continue to proceed through the rest of this Easter season. Take care. keep praying, and be a saint. What else is there? Thank you for watching.